So we're getting ready to reset this marble tab, and it's supposed to be sitting in a slot, and I pulled it out earlier to get measurements and just to do a little discovery and exploration. Found that the tab at the bottom of it is all broken off. So we're going to be basically resetting it in this new concrete pedestal that incorporates a slot in it. So we're gonna have to pull that out of the hole and start some excavation. I want to get rid of any loose, broken base or pedestals that are below grade. I know there are some. I want to kind of line it back up. So let's get to work. Normally the slotted base, which is usually marble matching the tab monument, is sitting on top of a limestone pedestal. And I'll show you what's below ground in the hole that I just cleaned out. But if you can see, this one's actually holding water. But you know, this tab is only, you know, about, you know, 2.5 inches deep. And as well, you can tell here, that tab, or that slot, excuse me, the slot is not as big as the dimensions, width and depth of that monument. So on the bottom of it, I can't show you on this one, basically the tab on the bottom of this, which sticks into that slot, will be of a smaller dimension than the monument that's going to set in it. So, and these monuments are, you know, this one's probably 3.5 to 4 inches thick by almost 20 inches wide, pretty similar in size and weight to the one I'm working on. So to kind of give you an idea of what ours used to look like, let's go back and see what's underneath this. What most of these monuments, and like under this one too, what I found in other cemeteries and resets, is they'll dig a hole in this heavy black dirt, in this case in southern Minnesota. Then they'll fill it with field stones. And then on top of that, they'll either, sometimes in this case, I can't tell if this is poured limestone, let's say concrete mortar mix, or if it's the remnants of that limestone base that I just showed you. On top of that is would sit that slotted base for the monument to sit in. And then you can see clearly here on how that tab on the bottom is completely busted off. So again, this one's about 3.5 inches thick. It's about 18.5 inches wide, you know, 2.5 feet tall, and it's top heavy. If I did my calculations, you know, you're probably 150 to 200 pounds on this. So what I've done is, what I tend to do is get rid of all these field stones. And what I believe happens out here causing the failure is these field stones basically act like, it's almost like setting something on a pile of marbles, and as the ground freezes and thaws and shifts and settles, it just rocks, and it's not a good stable base. And so then it'll settle below ground. That limestone, or if it's just something like this, will settle below ground, and then the freezing thawing action, because this is a sedimentary stone, it will basically shear split, and the base or the foundation just goes all to hell. And then it'll topple over, or in the cases of these tab-in slots, they just had such a poor design. So I've got all the stone and unstable base out of the hole. I've got 2 5-gallon pails of aggregate. It's called 3/4 inch limestone with fines. Well, things are going fairly well. I've got 2, 4, 6 5-gallon pails of aggregate in the hole. I've got it all tamped down and leveled, and now we're ready to set up the tripod in order to lift out our new slotted base. And I'll be using my, I call them my cemetery tongs that I built. So This thing is weighing, I believe, I forget, about 250 to 300 pounds based on the amount of concrete, the bags of concrete I used. We're going to set up the tripod hoist, and I think I'll be able to set it up almost directly, just about directly over the hole, and back the pickup almost right on top of where I want the slab to be. So we won't have to move and walk the tripod very much. And so that's my next process. So just a reminder, before you fully erect the tripod, make sure you don't get it too high that you can't reach and hook up your chain hoist. You might even want to hook it up first and then walk it in place, but it's just more weight hanging on there, makes it a little harder to walk it up. So do it in stages, and then make sure your legs are firmly planted. The ground's a little soft today, so it's they're digging in well, and then we'll also make use of safety chains on the legs. Okay, I got the safety chains hooked up. Now, the reason I don't have them all the way down at the ground level is because I need the legs splayed far enough. I need them to splay out about 7 feet roughly at about chest high to clear the pickup box. So I've got it all centered. The chains, they're all of the same length, so that way I know the weight will be equally distributed on each leg. So I'll unhook this first chain, closest chain to me, and maybe we'll even raise it up, or I'll run a longer, I've got a ratchet strap I can run from the base of each leg and then just back over it. Okay, we got the pickup backed up underneath the tripod hoist, and actually we've got the new slab hanging in the air. Using the cemetery tongs, I call them, that I fabricated. Kind of a glorified, overgrown ice tongs. We'll lift it up just a touch more and get the pickup out of there, and we should be almost dead center over the final resting place. So let's continue. Okay, so you can see we got the pickup moved out from under the tripod, and I'm Greg. Basically, we got the slab hanging right over the final resting place, and so let's drop that down in place and continue our project. So here we are from another angle. As you can see, I've got the safety chain on the front disconnected because the pickup was impeding, so we'll get that strapped on. But now you can see essentially basically free hang of our new pedestal and a slotted base, I call it, using my cemetery tongs. So we just got to release the hoist, lower it in place. Should be pretty darn level by the time we get it down, because I took extra care in making sure the gravel base is level. You notice that I also didn't recess this much below grade, but probably the biggest reason is I want that slab high enough to protect the monument, so that for example the lawnmowers would essentially, like over there, hit the pedestal, hit the base, hit the apron before it comes anywhere near hitting the monument. And that's what's happened in many cases. And on this monument, so we're probably going to have to add some aggregate in the bottom of our slot because it's got an inscription. So we're gonna try to level that so we can just barely read the inscription and yet give it enough stability to hold it upright. Okay, we're progressing. Got some gravel tamped in around the perimeter of the new base. I added some aggregate down in the center of the slot and tamped that in with my sledgehammer. And you can see we've got the marker not quite fully vertical, but I've got two 6-foot lifting slings, and they are passing through I think it's about a 2-foot axle strap. I just need to, get it in place, lift it so I can get it close enough to get it in the slot. I'll probably have to lift it up, add some aggregate, level it to get the right height so that the inscription still shows. So probably just below that line below the date. So the slot could be or is 5.5 inches deep, but if we set it in that deep, we'd be covering up the age on this marker. Well, we're in the final stages of this tab in slot reset, and right now I've been tamping in sand, and you'll note that a couple tools I've been using. I've got a post level or a 2-foot bubble level. Those rubber wedges are actually just door stops to wedge in place and after I plumb it. And now I'm put some sand in the I guess some people probably call it a mortar joint, and then tamping that down with just a putty knife. We'll finish tamping in the sand and then probably put a bead of a sealant around the perimeter of the monument. It'll prevent the weeds and grass from growing in that crack. And again, you can see that I kept the pad up a little higher, so hopefully the lawnmowers will hit that before they get anywhere near the marble monument. So after we get everything reset, I'll continue the cleaning process. So hopefully it'll end up nice and clean, like it's like our neighbors and relatives. So we'll keep going. I've been at this probably solid 4 hours, and basically we're done. Just need to do, before I leave, I'm going to give it a spray of 50-50 D2 mix, and I also need to go find some black dirt and kind of fill that hole in. But essentially it's ready for a good scrubbing, and hopefully it's back in, let's call it, final resting place. I'm not sure how long it's been sitting askew, but hopefully this will get it another 150, 200 years